I've snuck 2 questions in from Travis, which I think we would have addressed.
They're
on
very
next week's
Travis
show.
questions.
I have.
What?
Oh.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just read it out.
Yeah.
What does the return of Doublelift mean for TSM? I asked this because people wanted us to talk about this like 2 weeks ago before MSI started. People were upset we weren't addressing this on the show. So before NALCS starts, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Before NALCS starts, what does the return of Doublelift mean for TSM? And guess what? I will recuse myself from this conversation so the 3 of you guys can just talk about it.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty,
That's
Travis.
session.
Yeah, you could do that more often. That'd be great. I think obviously I think it's a clear improvement for TSM. I've talked with Parth a little bit about it. He does think there's some situations where Turtle will be better, but it's like kind of few and far between and like very situational. So who knows what they're going to do with practice time. It doesn't sound like they're 100% like confident that like we're going to go 50-50 or we're going to do it based off matchup or something like that. For the most part, it just should be good. He's a stronger laner, better overall player, a little bit more dominant. Might cause some team issues with the fact that Hanser has been calling more resources, so that maybe there's some synergy issues at the beginning, but should be resolved over the course of the split, that they should all be functioning again. It's just sad that they took the split off because I felt like they could have taken a lot of their issues at Worlds and try and work on them.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, let's remember what went wrong at Worlds and work on this team in a new meta with different stuff to fix those old issues, which it's just like so far removed at this point that I'm not sure that they're going to learn from their last, like this iteration of the roster will learn from the last international competition it played versus the Turtle one.
I'm very curious to see how Sven Skaren's jungle pathing changes. And I know that's like probably the worst.
The most Emily ran. What is double? I'm just curious about Sven Skaren's
It's very
jungle
relevant
pathing.
given how Doublelift
okay.
plays.
So yeah, this is my only concern. The turtle Doublelift thing, I think, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure I've said this on the show actually, because I thought we answered this question, but maybe not. Is that I feel like Doublelift does everything Turtle does, but better. So in terms of like play style difference, I don't see a ton of like different things in terms of like how having Turtle be playing would be a lot different than playing Doublelift, other than the fact that they would put more resources top. And we've spoken about this a lot, where this whole split was basically watching TSM learn how to finally play around top lane. So that's actually what I'm going to be looking out for. But I think on the whole, like they should, it should be a good thing generally for TSM.
Was it you I was talking about where they mentioned old CLG with Darshan when he had like the Yasuo counter pick to Gnar and like all that stuff in the 2015 season where Doublelift like didn't call that many resources? Someone was making a point to me that like hypothetically Doublelift can play low resource style too. So it's not like they need to go back to Doublelift crushing bot lane and Bjerg and Sven making 4-man plays down there all the time.
Sorry, I do have one follow-up component to this conversation. If Peter Peng had not taken Spring Split and turned it into Stream Split, would North America have the seed advantage they had last year and not have lost it to Europe?
That's an interesting question, and I would, for the most part, say yes. Based off, not because I would think they'd even beat G2 in a best of 5, but just how that group stage went, the fact that they needed to win one game, 2 pretty winnable games. Do I think Doublelift is enough of improvement if he stayed in the team the entire time and they worked together? Are they a good enough team to have won one more game at group stage? Probably.
So Doublelift,
I mean, it's weird
and his
because
greed prevented NA from having.
Yup. How much did that spot cost?
Yeah, but you're ignoring how much like
how much Doublelift's actual liability at Worlds.
I mean, that team failed in a lot of ways.
I was going to make the point how much G2 has improved as a unit. But the
stage G2 didn't play in the.
Yeah, so I would say I would expect G2 to probably win a best of 5, but based off how
Doublelift is really hard to say because I think that there are aspects of Doublelift's play that are definitely way better than Turtle, but I don't necessarily feel like Turtle like, I feel like you add Doublelift to this, and they still are going to, like, Turtle even won some lanes and stuff like this. You add Doublelift to this, and you're still in the position where TSM, like, meander around at 15 minutes or force dragons they don't have to force and things like this, and then lose the game off of that, which I feel like is less relevant to the Turtle versus Doublelift conversation.
The one thing I'd say is that from what we heard from TSM, Doublelift was a pretty aggressive shot caller in situations where Beer can be more conservative. And so I think in some of these games where they had leads and then lost them, you could say maybe Doublelift forces a 50-50 like situation that the rest of the team didn't opt into, and like they kind of bled away the game.
My thing is that TSM needs an identity. Like you know how... Go, Kelsey.
I really disagree with that narrative. The narrative that the problem with TSM is that they aren't committing to plays.
No, I don't think that's true either, but like
just the aggressive shot calling and things like this, because I think the problem isn't necessarily like the lack of the ability to capitalize on plays and situations and make those types of calls. The problem was more like, we're setting up side lanes. We're setting up this. Like, how are we going to do this properly? That was like much more of a problem for me for TSM than like Doublelift being aggressive when normally Bjergsen isn't aggressive or things like this.
Right, but like there were situations where they had Baron buff and Elder Dragon and they just didn't like group Rumble ult them off a turret, right? And like I'm not like 100% sure like Doublelift's going to be like, hey, let's stop 1-3-1ing and just poke them off a turret with Jace Rumble and blow our cooldowns and then like take the turret. Like I'm not 100% sure Doublelift makes that call. But I also think he's just a better player too. So like they might not even be in that situation. That 8K gold lead could be a 10K gold lead and the game's over. It's such a hypothetical, of course, but I think there are enough situations where Doublelift's a better player, and they wouldn't have had to adjust in the spring split, and they would have had this entire time of 3 months that they're improving on previous mistakes that they end up as a better team as a whole.
That's my big thing. I would want them to. I would want to see how they develop from the team that was at Worlds last year with another split. And
to answer the chat, no, we're not ignoring that the Turtle got caught, because Doublelift also got caught at Worlds.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a moot point. Anyway, continue, Emily.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, like, I'd want to see what kind of team TSM would evolve into, because, like, last year, they had a terrible spring split where the team looked completely, like, not on the same page whatsoever. They got it together just in time for playoffs, almost made it to MSI, but were beaten by CLG. Then all throughout summer, they got Biofrost. They fixed a lot of their issues. They destroyed, like, they killed it. Then they bombed out of Worlds. Now you take that team who was, like, this team that came out and said they had trouble adjusting to the absence of lane swaps because they like just wrapped their heads around it and now they have to do this again, stuff like that. I want to see that team develop and really create like their own identity, which is something that if there's one thing I agree from that random Cloud Templar rant, it's that TSM really doesn't do much outside of lane really well and then sometimes group maybe like and that's like not something that's going to work at an international competition. Like the Gigabyte Marines had a more defined play style than TSM, even though I'd still say that they're a worse team.
Doublelift sold NA spot at Worlds for Twitch donations.
And a fat paycheck from Team Liquid, most likely.
Oh yeah. That's probably true.